episode of the Book Fix podcast, a podcast that saves lives one book at a time. I'm your host, Yajaira.
And I'm your host, Cheli. Hello.
Cheli, I've missed you.
I've missed you too. It's been cold as fuck. Dude,
no,
I have book tea, but it's kind of like weird. Like it's not specifically author book tea or book drama.
Okay.
So I read this post about a graphic novel that's getting created, but apparently all of the art in the graphic novel is AI generated. And I don't know if you like hear the debate about that.
So the hands don't look like hands.
Okay, you kind of get it. Okay, with AI generated art, people kind of don't agree with things being generated like that because the way for it to generate it is to borrow art from other sources,
other artists.
In order to generate it. So there's a book with AI generated art and their main character literally looks like Zendaya.
Really? Wait, and is it technically borrowing? Isn't it stealing?
That's
like
stealing,
it steals
right?
Art from other artists. Yes, it is stealing. I would say so anyway. Because I did see many artists on Twitter pretty much like just being upset when AI, like this AI generator was, whenever it came out, it feels like it was recent. And I don't know. I hate that. Plus it always like the details aren't really there.
No, they're not. And it's also not great because I've seen AI generated art and not specifically that book, but just like on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. I guess sometimes when it pulls from other artists, it'll also pull their watermark and their signature. So it's like you're not even
even
gonna try to take that off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's a fucking bot, but still, that sucks.
Yep. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know what it's called. I feel like it's already out.
No, I mean, I didn't hear about that, but that should be interesting. I don't think that I would want to support that, though.
No, I don't think I would either. But I saw it and I thought of you and Zendaya.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Me and Zendaya in the same sentence. Love that.
So today we are going to be talking about Legendborn by Tracy Deonn.
So at the beginning of our episodes, we like to give a spoiler-free-ish summary because after that summary, you can think or decide if you haven't read this yet, maybe you want to go read this before you listen to the rest of this episode. And after the summary, we're going to hella spoil, okay? So let me give you my summary. Legendborn is a YA urban fantasy book that takes place mainly on the UNC Chapel Hill campus. At the beginning of the story, before going off to school, Bree Matthews loses her mother to a car accident. But as she's in the station with the officer relaying the news to her, she notices a glimmer that she won't understand until later in the story. Once she's in school, she goes to a cliff diving party with her best friend Alice, and that's where she experiences that the world isn't exactly what it seems when she witnesses a monster being killed by a group of students that goes to her same school.
Wow. Short, sweet, and to the point. This book is really long.
Really dense.
Yeah. And we are going to try our best to get through it, but we usually don't talk about everything in these episodes. So I recommend go read it and then come back. If you don't want to do that, you know what? I can't ask you to do things you don't want to do. Thank you.
And we would recommend this book to anyone who likes the chosen one trope, to anyone who likes books with like intricate magic systems, love triangles, fantasy. Urban fantasy. Sorry.
Yep.
I can't really think of anything else.
Dealing with grief.
Oh, yes. Dealing with grief. That's a good one.
Okay. So.
Or I guess we should say like books that know how to deal with grief.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Call everyone else out. Not those fake grief books. Okay. So Yajaira and I don't tell each other how we feel about these books when we're reading it. So we did promise each other last episode that we're going to try to be short and sweet when we guess the other person's rating. So why don't you guess mine first?
Well, the reason why we're going to be short and sweet is because sometimes we tend to project how we're feeling onto the other person's rating or review.
Yeah, but let's not like point fingers. Like it could be either of us.
It's you. No. I feel like I've done it before, but I always like pay attention to what you say, and then I realize that you say it again in your overall thoughts,
Dude,
and I'm just like, oh, that's so funny. It's okay though.
Oh my gosh.
I love you.
And I don't know if you feel the same way, but you can tell a lot by the first person who guesses.
What do you mean?
Like if you're gonna guess first, I feel like that's harder on you. Because then if you guess like let's not talking about this book. If you guess a 1, I could be like, oh, Yajaira didn't like it. I don't know.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. You know what? I feel like we should start rolling dices. That'd be fun.
I know.
Just fucking give you a random ass number. No explanation needed. Okay, so my guess you did. Oh shit, we're not gonna give explanations. I'm gonna guess that you would give it a 3.75.
Because you can do that on Storygraph, by the way.
Exactly. Shout out to Storygraph.
That's so funny because I'm gonna guess that you would give this one higher a 4.75. I think you're just right on top.
Okay. Thanks, I guess. Okay, so why don't we start off by talking about the way that this book starts? And it starts with a prologue where, as I explained in the summary, Bree Matthews, gets the unfortunate news that her mother passed away in a car accident. And in this moment, I really love the way that it's written because she's speaking in a way where she's already dealing with the grief, right? Because she's not really taking it in. She's kind of disassociating in the moment, but she does notice that as the officer is talking to her, she notices this like weird glimmer. And you can attribute it to her just, not really being in the moment because as she's listening, she's also telling herself like, oh, now I'm going to be, or I guess the way that she says it is way more eloquently than I'm going to, but she's like seeing herself now as an after Bree. So after Bree is her after losing her mother. Yes. And it's someone who definitely has like a outer shell now. And that's how our story starts off. And we also learn that the last conversation that she had with her mother was them arguing. So that would obviously make losing her even worse.
Okay, I want to double check. I want to fact check because she wasn't in the car with her mom, right? Her mom had gone alone.
No, she wasn't in the car with her mom, no.
Okay, so it was just she had heard after the fact and then her and her dad went to the hospital after.
So her and her dad were home and I believe they got a phone call and that's when they went off to the station.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing she was 15? 16?
She's 16 because this story really only takes place within like 2 weeks. And when she loses her mother 3 months later, she goes off to this college that actually her mother went to as well.
And it was like, because she's still a teenager, it's like this early start type of college. So
I know, because it's weird that she's 16 and she's going there. But she was able to do early admissions.
Yep. And she's super bright. And her dad and her kind of agreed that if she needed space away from home to not be reminded about what happened, if she does well at school, then he will allow her to go to this school.
Yeah, because I really like that the dad remains present in her life. I mean, he's obviously not there with her throughout the whole journey, but we do see him come and go with like phone calls and he's always checking up on her. And he does tell her, if I find out that you are, screwing around or just, dealing with grief in a way that he wouldn't appreciate, if like she goes off the deep end or something, he's like, I'm gonna pull you out of the school if it's not helping you.
I don't know if you felt the same way, but the dad was so realistic in his phone calls. Very dad-like, like with the way that he spoke about it. And you can tell that he also really cared for her because there was this one point where he was like, you're kind of doing what the book says. Because he read a book on grief. Oh
my God.
He's such a good dad.
Because he doesn't know how to... Because obviously what I also appreciated was the conversation of him losing his wife and Bree losing her mom. And even though they're both dealing with grief, they're both dealing it in very different ways. And so he has to, be present for Bree. And the way that he goes about it is like he'll try to like read into books, and he even tells her eventually like, you know what, you need to go to therapy. Like I need to make sure that you are actually working through this and not just, shutting off.
Yeah. So like Yajaira said, Bree goes to college early and she doesn't go alone. She goes with her best friend, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
And is it the first night where they go off campus?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is because they end up going to like this cliff diving party.
Oh, you're right.
And what I appreciate about this book is, our main character is Black. It's written by a Black author.
Mm-hmm.
And in many of these moments, it feels like Bree is the only Black person in the room. And
Yep.
like we go through all of like her microaggressions. Like people just don't know how to talk to her. And also with the microaggressions, people know that she lost her mom too. So
Yeah.
they don't know how to bring that up. And she makes a comment that I really liked.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And she basically says that when people talk to her, they talk to her in a way where they almost like feel forced to say something in a certain way because it makes them feel like, oh my God, I'm such a good person because I said it this way or I brought it up like this.
Yep.
And I just really like the way that this story discusses grief.
I do too. So they go to this off-campus party, and this is the party where everything kind of falls apart. And is this the party where Bree sees Cell for the first time?
Yeah, so she starts to notice I think it's like a demon, and the people around her don't really see it until it starts wreaking havoc. And that's when she sees Selwyn and Victoria fight this demon off and pretty much kill it. And Selwyn starts to like mesmer them. So like he starts erasing their memories or manipulating their memories so that they don't remember exactly what happened. And he does it to Bree, and she doesn't know it at the time, but it's like weird. Like she shouldn't be able to just get her memory back, right? She shouldn't be able to just not be affected by this mesmer.
Oh,
and so
just to mention too, when she was mesmered, so was the people that were with her. So when Cell tried doing this, everyone around her, including her at the time, were like, oh, we gotta go home. And they just start heading back. And it isn't until like a few minutes pass where she's like, what am I doing? Like I was over there. And that's
because it starts coming back to her, which I thought was amazing. Like I really loved the magic system in this book.
That's where she saw Cell and Tor fight this creature. And also there were like 4 college boys that were there. And in order to make sure they didn't remember, I guess that was the point, right? Because Cell kind of fucks them up.
Yeah. He starts messing with them. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. This feels like it was pretty far into the book. I don't know if it was just because I was reading it slow. Okay,
it really wasn't.
I was reading it at 1.5 speed, so it took a while to get there.
Yeah,
usually I listen at 3 times speed.
To anyone who hasn't listened to us talk about books before, Cheli finishes books really quickly. This took you like 2 weeks.
Yeah, because I knew it was thick, and I don't know if I told you this. I have 2 coworkers that love this book and the series. So when I told them that I was reading this, they told me that they wanted me to appreciate it. So I like took it slow because they want me to talk about it with them too. I don't know if I mentioned that. But so I did, and it took me a while to get to this point, but just to say that I really
like second chapter. No, first chapter, I think.
It took me maybe like 10
days.
business days. Yeah. Because the weekends are reserved for me to take notes on this. But no, when I got to this point, you're right. I really like how they fleshed out Bree, because I don't know if you feel the same way, and this is probably because it's written by a Black author, but sometimes it feels like a character can have characteristics and then they're never talked about again. I like that. Yeah. Like you said, how Bree noticed every microaggression, or how she noticed how people would say things differently, or even, and just to bring it up, not to completely talk about it, like when there's workers and it's like, oh, all of these workers are people of color. I am the only colored person here that is not a worker. Yeah. Like she will notice these things. And I do appreciate that. And we saw that up until this point too, even though it was still chapter 2. But
also just the fact that she is such a bright student. So even when she's talking with the principal or just talking to anyone of like power in the school, like a lot of them will constantly berate her, like subtly. Like they'll be like, oh, I don't even know how you ended up here. Like they're trying to downplay her achievements and her,
Because
just her brightness.
I think the dean even mentions, like, was it a scholarship? Was it a scholarship?
Yeah. Oh my God. The fucking dean pissed me off. Yeah. He kept like trying to make it seem like, oh, you're here on a scholarship. If you mess up again, then, then I think this offense of them going off campus to go to like a party is like expulsion worthy, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes. But because
her best friend Alice was so mad at her because she was like, oh, well, we went to this party because you wanted to, or
but
whatever.
Can I say, because Alice, when she's first introduced, she's very like quick and witty, like with her responses. So if something is not going right, she's like, not my best friend anymore. Apply again later, I guess. And
they have a really good banter together. Yes. And I don't know, I can't remember how long they've been friends, but it's been for a minute now. And I really love their relationship together. But they do kind of go through this falling out through the story.
Falling out hurt though. Like
it really did.
I felt so like you didn't have to say that. Because they basically get called to the dean's office after their first day of walking off campus. And both of them get called out. And Bree tries to defend her friend Alice and say like, oh, it wasn't her choice to go. I made her go with me. And the dean's like, oh, was she handcuffed to you? Is that how she went? She wasn't? Yeah. Okay, then she chose to go. And I mean, I get that 1000%. I get that argument. So I just really, it hurt when Alice walked out and she was just like, you know what? I noticed that you don't even try anymore. Like all of your classes that you're taking are like basic classes. Are you just here to like
you're not
around?
Like you're not even applying yourself anymore. And it sucks because I think that Alice doesn't really know how to deal with Bree's grief either. So in moments like this one, she just kind of like blows up on her where she's just like, oh, it's because, you're still dealing with this. And, I don't even know who you are anymore. And it's like, to Bree, she doesn't really see it that way. So when Alice just brings it up that way, it's like very aggressive.
And it sucks too because remember, Bree just saw 2 students doing magic. So she's like, okay, I understand we were about to get expelled, but I saw this boy. And then Alice is like, okay, now we're talking about boys. Like, is that what we're fucking doing? And
Alice was pissed. She was like, are you really going to talk about a boy right now? And it's like, damn, Alice, let her talk.
Alice, please. It's not like that.
I kind of wish that Alice would have been a little bit more involved with Bree's journey of, figuring out these like secret societies, because it kind of sucked that she was just left in the dark. And then they didn't really have, they didn't really have that many interactions with each other, especially because the story kind of focused more so on Bree's journey alone. And also Bree's like journey with, uncovering what really happened to her mother and dealing with these 2 boys.
You know what I would have liked too? Because I'm a little different on that. I kind of do like that she was kept in the dark, but I would have appreciated if, even though Bree didn't tell her everything, she would still offer her help and advice. Like, I do just wish that she was more there as a friend, even if they were still fighting.
Alice was too proby though. Like, I don't remember exactly why, but don't you remember when she called Bree's dad and like ratted her out?
Dude,
pretty much.
How did you feel about that?
I was pissed. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I understand why she would do it because she's actually genuinely concerned for her, but like still, like don't involve the parents, like, please. If anyone did that to me, oh my God, I'd be pissed.
Mr. Bree's dad. Hi, this is Alice. Yeah, it's me.
Mr. Bree's dad.
Mr. Bree's dad.
I love that we've spent so much fucking time talking about Bree and Alice when literally this story isn't even about Bree and Alice.
So that was the first 2 pages. So
yeah, no, literally.
No, but it kind of sets up like her relationship with others though, because the dean basically says, you know what, you girls can stay because I'm so nice, but you guys have to have I guess they're like 2 mentors.
No, it's a mentor. Yeah.
And they basically have to stick with them all year. And I think Bree even mentions like, oh, that's just a babysitter. It's like, yeah, because girls don't fucking know how to stay on campus. So they each get kind of like their own person. And Bree's mentor is Nick
Davis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nick Davis is definitely like the golden retriever good guy, just like a really nice person.
Wait.
And
what do you think I feel about Nick? How do you think I feel about Nick?
I think you love him because his name is Nick.
Dude, how did you
yes,
know?
I know that you love Nick.
I didn't even make that connection, but thank you. I do really like the name Nick, and I love him. Thank you.
Because of
He's such
Heartstopper.
a beautiful boy. And he is like A+ student, perfect at everything. And it's funny because the first time they meet, he was just like, you see that I was here? It's because I knew that you were going to be in this building. And I kind of like, he like spaced it out. Like he knew exactly where she was going to be. And he was like, and I was 5 minutes early, bitch. Not bitch, queen. But like he basically is super sweet and is willing to help her. And you can tell at first she doesn't want to really trust him, but he's just so like charismatic and kind of tries to relate to her too. Is like, oh, you tried jumping off that cliff? I remember when I was a freshman. You know, like,
he's like, I remember those fucking days when I had no brain. No, but what I really liked from the very beginning of their relationship, I believe they were walking somewhere together, and that's when Bree notices a demon, which they're known as the Shadowborn in this world. And you know, normal people, which they're known as the Onceborn, they can't perceive these demons. They don't really they can't notice them, you know? And so Nick is immediately like surprised that Bree can even see this demon, and then she sees Nick fight the demon, and I think he win. No, he does win, but doesn't she get hurt? She gets hurt. He does in the process.
Win because he was basically cornering himself, and she called the demon to follow her, and that's where he's kind of shocked that she can see it too, and it follows her, and she does a thing to kind of block herself, and she feels like her arms are on fire. Right?
Yes, I do remember that. And so she does end up getting hurt, and then he takes her to like this, what is he, like a healer?
Yes.
To William, who's the healer of, you know, this secret society. And she kind of just starts piecing things together because she lets out that, you know, Cell did mesmer her. And when Nick finds that out, he's like, what do you mean he mesmered you and it didn't work? Like you can never let him know that it didn't work. And she doesn't really understand like the importance of that. She doesn't understand anything. And but then she starts piecing together like, oh wait, this is, because she starts getting fragments of memories back. And the same thing happened with like what happened to her mother. So she starts to realize like, oh, like my mother's death had something to do with this secret society. And she almost thinks that they're like responsible for it. Yeah. And well, so obviously she's pissed.
Yeah. And remember at that point when she was being healed, she has her memories again. Because remember, there's after Bree and before Bree. And she feels a memory coming up of like replaying when her mom died and she found out. And it happens a lot, and sometimes she just has to ride through it and see the whole memory. But this time when she sees it, the part where the police officer reveals that the mom passed away, he says something else. And she was like, why would I remember it like that if that's not how it was? So that's when she starts kind of questioning, maybe this is different than what I thought it was. Maybe there is like this magic, maybe something is involved in this. But like you said, Nick is completely shocked that she was able to remember anything after getting mesmered. But then you can hear, I think, Cell coming down the hall, and he's like, okay, you stay here. I'll talk to him and stuff. And it's as soon as he leaves, she's like, I'm out. Like, I'm not staying.
Yeah, she does not listen to him at all because she just doesn't care. And she also thinks that, you know, this secret society had something to do with her mother's death. And so she starts to kind of like try to become a part of it to uncover that truth. And I kind of hated this moment because Nick was also supposed to be a part of this group, but he really didn't want to. So he found a way to just, you know, get out of it. And so because he was not a part of it anymore, it was Cell who was taking the reins of, you know, the leader role when it was supposed to be Nick. Yes. And so when Bree goes to, you know, their place, she's just like, oh, I'm here because Nick is going to sponsor me. Like, totally. And the people there are like, Nick? what?
Mm-hmm.
He's coming back. Oh my God. And they're so excited about it. And so Nick, he immediately liked her. I would almost say this is like insta love. And he
Yeah.
immediately liked her. So he was so down for it. Like he didn't want to. He really didn't want to come back to this society. But because she was getting so involved, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna sponsor her, right?
Yeah, but he was like kind of down, right? Like I know he wasn't happy with it.
Not really.
But he did want to help her.
He wanted to help her, but he did not want to go back to this society, like this Legendborn, because they're known as Legendborn, right? All of these people who fight off the Shadowborn. And he didn't want to do that anymore. And so I kind of felt for him. Like, I feel so bad because, of course, I understand Bree's motivation. Like, she wanted to find out what was going on with her mother. But I really hated that it forced Nick to do something that he didn't want to do, which was, be integrated with the Legendborn again.
Isn't it kind of also fucked up that she doesn't figure out all of his connections and his like desire to not be in it until after they're already sworn to each other? Like,
yeah,
it's until way after where she's like, oh my gosh, he's King Arthur's descendant. What was the other one? If one of them dies,
I don't even know if
right?
we even said it, but like this story is has Arthurian legend, so King Arthur and the Round Table and all that shit. I honestly never really got into that, but I think it's a cool concept, especially in this book and the way that it talks about it or connects to it. So I'm just gonna say it now because so all of these like people, like the King Arthur and his Round Table, they kind of went through like this, I don't know if it was like a curse or just some sort of like spell that would tie in any descendants to them. So like that way, if they were killed off, like in generations later, there would still be someone who would be in, a part of this round table. And so people go through like this sort of awakening when they realize like, oh, I'm supposed to be connected to blank, or I'm supposed to be this person. And so, that's just also something else that the story integrated with, the Arthurian legends.
I don't remember exactly when this happens, but there's a point where they have to go into the woods to swear an oath. And is this the part where Sel and Bree, like they walk alone with each other, right?
Aren't they alone when they're doing the trials?
Oh, you're right. Okay. But I know they have an oath in the woods, and I think Sel is the first one to bring up, like, I think this girl's a demon. And he's like hella against her even being
from the
there.
very beginning. He did not trust her at all. And I feel like it's really interesting because as we learn about Sel's character, we realize that Sel has like this devotion to Nick. So he's just trying to take care of him, right? And he does not trust Bree at all. And we find out that it's because he's also, Shadowborn, and he feels that in Bree as well because they feed off of energy, they feed off of emotions. And so since Bree is going through her grief, she is very much filled with anger.
Yep.
And so that's why he kind of like gets that vibe off of her.
But it's hella misinterpreted. It just seems like Sel's a bad guy. And I think this is where we also see Nick's dad, because he tells Sel like, you know what, it's good, she's good, good. And then that's where Nick and Bree have to fake the oath that they give each other. Well, it introduces a lot of characters because after the oath we get to see kind of a little bit of everyone. We get to see oh my god, I'm gonna fuck up the names. Felicity. Right? Felicity, there's a guy named Will who everyone loves. He's a great guy. He's the healer. Then there's Bree, Nick, and Sel. And we learn that there's like a lot of like connections to the Legendborn. Like there's a network of people, so it's like the vassals, the squires. That's the only two I remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of levels in this story.
They do bring up that there is a lot of levels to this story, but there's also Merlin's descendants, and those are people like Sel who are supposed to protect the ether, or no, they're supposed to protect the order. And that's
Yeah.
what you were saying. That's why Cell is so protective of Nick, because that's kind of his job.
Yeah, he's his Merlin, like his King's Mage. And through this, through these moments, Bree also realizes that Nick is like an heir to Arthur. Or that's what they assume, right? Like
Yes.
that's what Nick's father believes too. Like he's like, oh, he's Arthur's heir. And so that's why he is, taking this leadership role. And also like everybody loves Nick. Like he's very much like just like a really good person. And there is a moment when they have to go through like trials, right? Like to become a squire, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And through one of these trials, Cell and Bree are alone together. And that's when this like hellhound comes out. And this hellhound is kind of like feeding off of Cell's magic or his ether.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, Bree kills it, right?
Yes, Bree
Like,
does kill it.
She kills this hellhound, and
She didn't mean to though, because she like
Yeah.
raised her hand to defend herself, and then it was dead.
You know what this reminded me of?
What?
Do you remember that moment in Inuyasha when when he is stuck to the fucking tree, and Kagome is like in front of him, and she like pushes out her hand, and it like destroys the demon, but like doesn't really kill it.
Yeah.
Completely. It like when I was reading that, I was like, oh my god, I love that moment.
You know what I love about you specifically?
What? I'm
No,
scared.
it's not a bad thing. I love that anytime we talk about anything, whether it be books, our friendships and relationships, we could be talking about politics. You're always just like, it's like in that episode of Inuyasha. Or like, it's like in that episode of SpongeBob. No, those are the two things you reference the most.
Oh my
But it's
god.
funny because I can't even argue with you, because it's like, damn, she's right. It really is like that episode.
You're like, damn, I see the connections here.
Oh my gosh.
Thank
I
you
think
for
this is
understanding
around-
me.
Dude, it's crazy to me that this book happens in the span of like you said, 2 weeks, because I feel like at this point it feels like so much happened, and then it's just like Bree like, okay, time to go back to my dorm and go to sleep, and it's like, bitch, you just almost died.
Seriously,
Oh my
and it's so
God.
crazy because obviously like Alice doesn't know what the hell is happening in Bree's life, so I can
So
just
this is the
imagine the
point.
things that she's picturing, right?
Yeah, and this is the point where she calls the dad and is like,
Oh
hey,
my
Bree's
God,
going through
yes.
stuff. So the dad takes it upon himself to like set up like counseling or therapy.
Yeah, he wants her to talk to a therapist, and I mean, I guess it worked out in Bree's favor because she does realize that this therapist knew her mother. And so she starts thinking like, well, I mean, if she knew my mom, then maybe I can learn more things about her. And so she's going through these therapy sessions, and I'm just going to skip forward. Eventually we learn that her mother would practice like root magic, which is like the secondary like magic system in this book, which I actually really, really liked. And root magic is like when they take magic from ancestors, but it's very much like a give and take.
I think at this point, I might be mixing a little bit of stuff, but you can kind of tell that there's like a little bit of attraction between Bree and Nick. And although it's not like completely like set in stone at this point, Bree does always, I don't know, you can tell that there's something between them, just like the way they stand close to each other, or the way that like there was one point where he touched her face and then he went to go fix a pillow and she just had to stand there like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But she goes back to him at this point, I think, and basically tells Nick like, I'm still in this. We had our oath. I wasn't lying. I'm going to stick this, or like stick through this, because she does want to find out what happened to her mom. I think around this point, like I said, Bree and Nick are slowly getting closer, and Nick reveals to her that the mom tried to take him out of the Legendborn like life, right?
His mom? Yeah.
And
Yeah, she
because
did.
of that, she was
because I think
punished.
she was just supportive of the fact that he didn't want to be a part of this, because from a very young age, he was, forced to train for it. And so it made him very like bitter, and it made him very unhappy. And so his mother was always on his side. And when she expressed like, oh, if you don't want to be in it, like, it's fine. She did get punished and she got taken away, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And I think this is the part where like Nick and Bree, don't they like sleep together?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
And then they wake up the next morning and they kiss. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I knew that they liked each other. I didn't think this was going to be the main romance of the book.
Really?
I thought it was going to be Cel.
No, I mean, I thought that. Well, I mean, I don't like insta love, but I do feel like he cared for her.
Yeah, he does.
While Cel was like, I don't trust this bitch.
I know, but I think you could also argue that her and Cel actually have, I don't want to say more in common, but they have more to talk about.
I think it's because of her trauma and him being a Shadowborn that they are able to connect a little bit more. And so when they do form a connection together, it definitely feels more, what's the word? Like it's like nicely paced, I guess.
Yeah,
because
it is.
Eventually he does like her. He does grow to like her a lot. And I think it's cute because then they'll go off and do like tasks together, like they broke into Nick's family's home and he like notices how clumsy she is and he's just like, how did I ever think that you were just fucking using us as puppets when you can't even like walk straight? I definitely liked like those moments between them.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But you know what?
Wait.
But you know what else I love?
Go ahead.
You know what else I love?
I think I know.
The bi representation. Like the fact that Cel pretty much admits that he was in love with Nick at one point in their life. He's not in love with him now. Allegedly.
I
fucking love that.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, he was in love with him?
You know what? When I was looking up Legendborn, before we even said we were going to talk about this in the podcast, because like I said, my coworker said she liked it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to look it up, see what it's all about. When I looked it up, I thought this book was going to have polyamory. And I don't know anything about the other books, by the way. I just want to say that now.
Either. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought that's what it was going to go towards. So when Cel admitted that, I was kind of like, interesting.
Dude, I wish. Because I do love that, he loves Nick, but, he also has this devotion to him. So I feel like it could work. But I don't think Nick has any interest.
And it's funny, too,
Cel that way.
Like you said, Cel also does like Bree. Like he's starting to like her. And it feels like a little bit like 10% of like being attracted to her at the very, very end.
10%. He's attracted to her.
No, do you think so? Because there wasn't really much.
So
there was more don't going on between them. Oh my gosh, there was more friendship going on between them.
Doesn't she also? I don't remember exactly the moment, but don't they have like a moment together when she like thinks like that she does kind of like him? I don't remember the moment, but I remember reading it and thinking, "Damn, poor Nick on the side being healed."
I also
he was
remember
like beat up.
At the very end when they're standing together and they're standing super, super close and Bree kind of backs up and she sees Nick looking at both of them angry and she looks at Cel. It's like, are you just doing this to try to make him jealous? But it's like kind of funny because it's like, who are you trying to make jealous? Are you trying to like get her, or are you still into my boy Nick? Like, I don't know. There's like a lot of layers into that and how that could be interpreted.
Yeah.
I get it though. Who doesn't love Nick? They go through all their trials, right? And then near the end, Bree has like this vision, right?
Vision?
Wait, hold on.
No, she goes to Patricia and Maria and they go through like, what's the word? They go through like the past, right? And it's like a trance thing. And so she's experiencing
the same thing because she sees one of her ancestors, and I think her ancestors,
her like great grandma,
right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she sees that Vera makes like a blood pact to protect her kids, who can only live one at a time with their powers. So that basically reveals that when the mom died, she passed the power to Bree. And at first Bree thought like, oh my gosh, my mom's hiding this whole life from me. But she even sees her mom, and her mom says like, hey, if you're seeing this, it's because you've gotten into this life. And like, I know it feels like I've held secrets from you, but it's because I didn't want you to be part of this life. Or like, she didn't want it to find her, type of thing. Oh, I think that's near the end, because we missed an entire part. Remember how Nick and Bree were pacted together? They also form a relationship, but it's frowned upon because the ones who are like sworn together are Nick and Cel, right? So it's weird for Nick and Bree to be in a relationship. So at the end, when Nick basically has to pick his partner,
and it's like a whole ceremony too. Like, it's a whole ceremony because he's gonna pick his squire. And I think that before he picks his squire, Bree had left, right? Like, she was like, I'm done with this, because she does realize that her mom did die in a car accident, which is really sad. And you know, seeing that her mom was involved in this life, she was kind of just like, well, why would I do the same thing? So again, she's going through this whole moment of, you know, dealing with her grief. And so she leaves them. She leaves this whole society. She's over it. And Nick is gonna say who his new squire is, and I think everyone expected it to be Cel, right?
Everyone expected it to be someone else.
Okay, well then Bree shows up, and because
she showed up to say goodbye.
So she shows up, and that's when he pretty much announces it to everyone that he wanted her to be his squire.
And everyone is shook because
everyone is like, what?
No one expected it. In a, by the way, in a freaking ceremony room or a meeting room where everyone is freaking white, and the only people who are people of color are all the workers. So no one expects it. And Bree kind of takes a moment and is like, you know what? My mom would want me to live the life I wanted. So I can do whatever the fuck I want. So she accepts it. And Nick is so happy. And like, it's such a sweet moment, but it doesn't last long because
not at all. Nick, it gets cut real short.
Yeah, because Nick is like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Let me go find my dad and I'll be right back.
Let me go tell my pops. Hold on.
See you very soon, babe. I wouldn't lie about that. And then never see him again.
See you in 10 minutes, babe.
See you in book 2. Did I say that? Oh. Okay.
See you in book 2. No, they do see each other.
No, but he leaves, and then the dad comes in and is basically like...
And he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, because he wanted him to be in charge. And he doesn't think that someone like Bree should be his squire. So he's like, go back out there and say, LOL, oops, sorry, guys.
That was just a joke.
It was just a little joke. And it sucks because what he's using as like a way to like
force
her. Yeah, is that he has her best friend, Alice. Remember Alice from page 1 and 2? So
from chapter 1.
Friend. And it's so sad because he's basically mesmering her, but like
he has one of his like henchmen doing it.
Yes.
It's like his right-hand man who's like trying to force Bree to say yes to his conditions by just eradicating. But he's like erasing like the recent memories, right? So it'll be like, oh, yesterday, the day before that, a week from now. And
he's doing that little by little, and she's like, it's not worth it. So
sure.
I think they leave, and then she goes home and tells Alice everything, and Alice is like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, you gotta go back. Yeah. And she's down to go too, which isn't that like against Legendborn law?
Yeah, it is. But you know what? Desperate times.
Okay. I think they figure out that in order to, because I think they want to defeat Nick's dad, right? Then they have to look for Excalibur because they need something that has like the strongest power. And she's like, oh my God, let's go get Excalibur that's back in this cave. And they go and they get it, and she can feel King Arthur inside of her. She feels the power.
Wait, you skipped something very important.
What I skip?
Wait, okay, start over. Hold on. Evan. Remember Fitz and Evan?
Yeah.
So they're going through this like journey to get to Excalibur, and Evan is fucking revealed to have been a demon this whole time. Like the whole time that, they've been there. And not saying that Evan never existed, like the actual one, but the demon pretty much killed him like a minute ago. And so in this moment, Bree is being possessed by one of her grandmas. I can't remember her name.
Vera.
But she is no. Anyway, let me hold on. Okay, so Bree is being possessed by one of her grandmothers because she is trying to get, the main girl to come in. And that's when Vera possesses her body. And then that's when she goes through like this like memory, sequence. And
that's the blood pact.
And so Bree learns that an heir to King Arthur pretty much like I think it was rape, right? Yeah. And he like did that to Vera. And that's why King Arthur is a descendant from Bree. And so Bree is going through like this awakening that they all go through, but King Arthur, I think he's like she's like going towards Excalibur, and Nick is trying to pull it out, but he can't. And remember, everyone thinks that he's an heir to King Arthur, and so when he can't do it, it's like, what the fuck? So then she goes up to it and she pulls it out.
Yeah. Because she is Arthur's scion.
Yeah, and that's when we learn that Nick is actually Lancelot, and that's when he awakens as Lancelot. Yes. But he is unfortunately taken by his dad and his dad's henchmen, so that, there's no moment after that between him and Bree.
No, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. And I mean, like this book ends in like a cliffhanger because obviously Nick is taken and like they have to go and save him, and so she stays with Sel at the end of the book.
That they're gonna get him back.
Yeah, and that's how the book ends.
And then he's just like, "We're gonna get our boy back." I mean, yours.
Wait. Is it my turn or is it your turn?
I know.
Whose turn is it?
Oh my god, dude.
Dude,
I think it's funny that you read this a month ago and I read this in the span of 2 weeks, and we talked about it in less than an hour, but it felt like so much.
I know. I was excited to talk about this book though. Like I had heard so many good things, and I mean our friend Melissa, this was her favorite read of last year. So I was anticipating good things, like a good experience, but damn, this book was thick. And you know what? This book is not only thick, the writing in this book is so tiny. Like the font, she's small.
Like I started this and I didn't use glasses. Now I use glasses.
Exactly. So Tracy Deonn, please pay for my prescription. Thank you.
I will say I was also very excited to talk about this book. This feels like one of the books that after we finish talking about it, I'm probably going to go back and reread it before I read Bloodmarked.
Yeah, no, same. I need to.
I want to experience it again. And I always feel, I'm sorry, I apologize a lot. I'm going to stop apologizing. I have nothing to apologize for.
But never.
I always feel so like unprepared when we talk about things. And then when you start talking, I'm like, oh, okay, I actually do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but
I mean, it happens, and I never want us to come off as like, oh, we're reading a script. Like I want this podcast to be like just two friends talking about a book,
Yeah,
so
and it has been feeling like that recently, so it feels really good to be able to talk like that. But that being said, dude, I fucking love the writing in this book. It's
Me too.
So good.
Yeah.
I think that this author does a really good job with dialogue too, because it's so natural, and she's so good at making people likable. Like I fucking love Nick, and
that's
I know that's it. It's so funny that you brought up I would not have brought it up because I almost forgot the whole Cell liking Nick, because I think when they talk about it too,
Dude,
isn't he
what?
like, oh, but it's fine, it's whatever, everyone likes Nick, and I'm just like, oh my god, how do you know? Who told him?
No, he was in love with Nick. Like, don't downplay this. Don't downplay this for me, okay? I need this.
But I like how this is also not one of those books that's like very love triangle. You have to choose one side to like. You can't like the other. Because I also just really love Cell. And I hope that whatever does happen in the future books, it doesn't take away from the relationships that she has built with everyone. Because they were all really good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I feel like I also really loved Nick's character a lot, especially because I felt so bad for him, you know, having gone away from this, you know, fucking group, you know, the Legendborn, and then feeling compelled to join it only because he really liked Bree. Oh my God, that broke my heart. And I also cared for Cell because even, you know, knowing or learning about his past and how he's a Shadowborn, and you know, that's why. And then it sucks because he was taking the role as a leader. But then when, you know, Bree came along and she was seen as more favorable, wasn't Nick's dad also trying to vilify him? Like, oh, well, you know, he's a Shadowborn, so are we surprised? You know, like something happened with that. And I felt so bad for him because he definitely carried a lot of baggage as well as Bree. So I really like that they had that connection together of, you know, her having so much anger and him like feeling that.
Yes. I appreciated their relationship a lot more than I did Bree and Nick. I love Bree and Nick. But like I said, I felt like what she had with Cell was a lot deeper than just being attracted to each other.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I get it. And I feel a certain way about Insta love. Like I do think that sometimes it works, but I don't know.
He was so good though. You can't lie.
He was really good. You know what else I really liked? I liked that Bree was a tall girl. Like she's a tall girl. I feel like in a lot of these books, they're always like small, petite, cute.
And
put them in your
also,
pocket.
to add to that, I love that she was a confident girl. Because there was this one point, I think it was William who was talking to her. And then I think she was taking off her clothes. And he was like, oh, go ahead. I have someone I'm attracted to. Not going to bother me at all. And she's like, no, don't get me wrong. I want you to look. I look amazing. She's like so quick to be confident. And I fucking love that.
Yeah, I love that too. I really loved Bree's character. Probably the most out of everyone. But then again, I also really liked that conversation of grief and, you know, the before and after Bree.
Yeah. And just like not her interpretation, but the fact that she was able to make that observation that people were just trying to think of themselves. I'm glad you brought that up because I really like that line. I wish I could remember exactly how she said it. But the fact that it's like, oh, you're only trying to make yourself feel better by saying if I something. Feel okay.
Yeah, because, you know, it would be different if it felt genuine. But the people who were asking her, it didn't feel like they actually cared.
Yep. Can I say my one dislike?
Go ahead. You have only one? You only have one?
It's pretty big.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I feel a certain way when we read books that have to do with them going to school and they just never fucking go to school. And like that wouldn't bother me much if it weren't for the fact that there were moments where she left and she's like, I'm never coming back, like near the end. How is it that no one looked for her at school? You know, I wish there were more moments of them interacting at school because I like the idea that none of them hung out together. So if they were to meet each other, it's like, oh, we're all 6 of us getting Panda Express at the same time. Weird. Let's sit together. You know, like I would have liked.
That's not how it works. Do you think they all have lunch at the same time?
No. But you know what I mean? Like I wish that they would have made like excuses to see each other because they tried to make a point of not seeing each other outside of the society. So I wish there would have been more moments of them trying to interact outside. Because the only time we saw that was when she went to his class once. Like she went to Nick's class once. I wanted to see more of them interacting in the school because they're at a fucking school.
Yeah.
And I wish she would have like learned more about her mom, not only through like the sense of the order, but I wish she would have learned about her outside of the order too. Because I think that would have made it more impactful. Like, yes, my mom was doing all of this. She was part of this, but she also was a normal person. Like, yeah. I don't know. It took
Oh, you
away
mean
from
like
that.
academically, how was her mom?
How was her mom? Yeah, because she was trying to figure it out. And I hate that she was automatically, it has to be this ether stuff. Like, I wish she would have just seen it all. Because then throughout all of this, she could have been like, you know what? I wasn't happy, but here I am now. I fucking love coming to school. Or like, I just love being
classes,
here.
Live, love, laugh.
That's a weird way to put
live,
it. But
love,
like,
read.
I hope you understand like what I'm going for. Like,
No,
I
do
really wish that
understand.
she would have learned that this was her home. Like, not only because she goes to the society, but because she loves being at school. She loves interacting with her friends, which would have been nice if we saw more of Alice and her other friends, which she didn't have.
Oh, I see what you mean. So you wanted her to cultivate a life in the school outside of the order.
Yes.
I think that would have been cool. But I feel like this book was long enough, you know? Like, I don't need another 100 pages of her going to math class. Like, I really don't.
I don't think that would have taken a lot out, though. I feel like, you know, one of their ¿cómo se llama? One of their trials was a scavenger hunt. So it would have been nice if it was like, okay, me and Cell have to go look for this thing, but we're just gonna meet at the subway. Like, and it's like,
but that's not even in the school though. Like, it would be different if it's like, oh, well, let's go to the statistics class then, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of it looking like an American college. I don't remember where she was at. But
there's not a subway on campus.
Some do have one. But
not mine.
Mine had a Burger King, which honestly, you could have had something better.
That's embarrassing. Don't ever admit that again.
No, but I wish there would have been moments where it's like, okay, we have to meet at the statistic building. I'm going to pretend to get tutoring. You have to pretend to like do something else. Like, I wish there would have been that. I wanted to see more of her school. And honestly, I didn't see anything. And the fact that it was only 2 weeks long kind of drives me insane.
Honestly, yeah. I kind of wish that this whole book, I kind of wish that this whole book would have taken place like a semester.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. I feel like, I mean, I'm sorry I keep bringing this up.
Don't. I know what you're going to bring up.
Should I have like, how many times I can bring it up in a year? I really liked that in Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo.
Oh my God. Don't.
That
Trigger warning. Ninth House.
No, but one thing I enjoyed was that after all the craziness had happened, like, you know, just going through very traumatic things, and you can think about this in like the sense of Legendborn. I would have liked if she had went through all of this and after that just being like, oh, it's summer, I have to go back home. Like, we just went through all of that together. I'll see you in a few weeks. Like, you know, it would have been, I don't know, it would have felt realistic, and it would have also like been a good point for Brie to like kind of step out of the situation and be like, oh my God, that all just happened. That's kind of what Harry Potter did too. Like, after every year he would go home and kind of just sit with everything that happened. I liked that.
He doesn't have a home. Wait, what? Where would he go? To the fucking under the stairs?
Hey guys, I still rent this room. Wait, why is a broom in here? That's a broom.
Why is
That's
there
a broom closet, Harry.
Damn.
That's so fucked up. Did you have any dislikes?
Well, just the whole it taking place within 2 weeks. I would have preferred it to have spread out for a whole semester.
It kind of reminds me of this one manga that I really like that apparently had an entire arc that it took like in real time. It took 2 years to get through like the chapters, and they would update weekly. But in the arc, it only took 5 hours. Like, it was 5 hours of the story worth. But it took 2 years.
That sucks. That would drive me insane. I just kind of wish that this book would have had more, like, I guess, Black characters. I don't know. Like, I understand that it was trying to show like how common, you know, microaggressions happen, and and how out of place it is, especially like with the racism with Davis near the end. And, everyone making her feel like she shouldn't be worthy of, even being at this campus. But it's like kind of crazy to me that there was like nobody else on the campus, at least from what I remember.
Well, I agree with you, but I kind of hope that's just like setting up for what might happen in the second book, because I feel like those statues that were there at the school that like depicted people of color, like I think they were building something. I hope that's kind of like a foreshadowing to like she's gonna meet people who also like understand root magic and ether, I guess. I hope that means that there's more people out there and it's not just this society that has systematic racism. Like, I hope there's more than what was perceived in this book. But I agree with you. I kind of wish she had at least met one person.
So my overall thoughts of Legendborn is that I was really, really excited to read this book because I had really high hopes for it. I love fantasy, urban fantasy. I feel like I should get more into, because this one I really like the way that it like played out, and I loved going through Bree's journey with her. I definitely felt for her. I connected with her. I was rooting for her from the very beginning. I loved that her dad was still involved in the story. And I am so excited to see like what happens in Bloodmarked. Like, I want to see more of her with like root magic, and just seeing how she is now that, she's awakened as King Arthur. And oh my God, they're so fucking loud. Going crazy. I'm trying to talk louder so that hopefully it'll drown it out.
Just yell at me.
I know. And I really did enjoy like the love stories that were presented in this book. Like, oh my God, I lost my mind with Sel when he like pretty much confessed that he was in love with Nick at one point. And you know what? If they both end up together at the end of this book, I'll be very happy, but I doubt it. And I personally feel like even though she seems to have like more of a genuine connection with Sel, as in like the way that they're dealing with life, I should say, I think that she's going to end up with Nick. Like, I'm pretty sure she's going to end up with Nick. I have no idea what happens in Bloodmarked, but I'm just guessing. I really loved both of the love interests, though. Like, I really cared for Sel and I really cared for Nick. And anytime that an author does that, like, because it sucks when it's a love triangle, but like one of them is obviously like
better than the other.
Yeah, like they obviously either suck or you don't care for them or they're not really developed that well. Like, I definitely understand everyone's motivations and I absolutely love that. And I'm excited to see what happens next. I also feel that her being awakened as King Arthur was a little bit like, I kind of expected it, but I do love that that's why she and Nick have a connection when he, awoke as Lancelot. I have no idea about this fucking legend, but I know that somehow those two, are they like, they're not lovers though, are they?
No, they're best friends.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I think they're best friends.
They're best friends who kiss sometimes. Is that so weird?
No, I'm just kidding.
Moving on.
Anyway, moving on.
Dude, we have to stop doing that.
It's just funny because you just set that up so perfectly. Anyway, moving on. I really, really loved this book. And anytime that any book plays with like a legend, and maybe I don't know everything about that legend, but they describe it well enough for me to kind of be on board, I always appreciate that. I was down for it. And I don't know. I just genuinely loved reading this book. I love it so much. Like, I immediately started the second one. I haven't gotten to completing it though, because Cheli and I have a long list of reads, so I did put a pause on that. I would rate Legendborn a 5 out of 5.
Oh my God, dude!
It's so freaking good, dude. I can't wait to read it again. But
what did you say I was gonna give it?
3.75.
A 3.75.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say I want to connect. Connect
with me or connect with what?
I'm always connected to you.
Oh, thank you.
The reason why my coworkers brought this book up is because I don't know if you know this about me, but I fucking love chivalry like so fucking much. I don't know. It's like such a weird thing.
I don't think you've ever told me that, but I'm not surprised.
Okay, I'm gonna geek out for a second, just like I did last time we read a book that had historical elements, I guess. I fucking love King Arthur so much.
Oh, well,
and
damn.
I actually recently read a book like a few months ago that also talked a lot about like the social code, which is like, you know, like how to be chivalrous. And I'm all for that shit. I'm all for that shit.
I didn't know that about you. Damn. Ugh.
Fun fact, one of my favorite Sonic the Hedgehog games is about King Arthur. Fun fact. So
you never told me that.
Well, you never asked.
Why would I ask you about King Arthur?
Why do you think every time you come I bow? Like, is that like, no? You just kind of like, oh, that's just Cheli on a normal Tuesday.
Oh, damn. I should have seen that.
I fucking love anything that has to do with like knights and just like moral code and just being there for each other no matter what. Because I mean, okay, if I were to like push a little further, that's basically found family. King Arthur was found family. And I fucking love that shit. That being said, I love all the fucking characters in this book. And I just think that Bree is such a good main character. I know that we've read a few books where I always say, like, this is my favorite female protagonist.
Yeah.
But I feel like she is a great one. Like, she is my favorite female protagonist only because she's like, she's flawed and also willing to like work through it. You know what I mean? Like, she had so many things that affected her that made her feel like after Bree that felt very dejected and stuff. But it was a good way to show that even while dealing with this grief, you do kind of have to push forward. And near the end, when Nick chooses her to be her squire, or sorry, his squire. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that she like is like, okay, now I'm living for me. And I'm like, dude, I love this development. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's probably because I'm a King Arthur stan, but I would also give this
an Arthurian head. What?
Yeah, dude, I fucking love King Arthur.
I didn't know that you loved King Arthur.
I'll send you all of my Sonic King Arthur edits.
I'm good.
Oh, okay. Okay,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You just hear me like just typing away.
You're like, I already sent all of them actually while you were talking. I didn't know that.
Just
but
ignore
wow.
those 100 texts.
I'm so glad that you like this book.
Yeah. And I get so sad because this kind of feels very like Skin of the Sea, where I really like the book. I really, really like the book, and I give it a 5 out of 5. But I feel like I didn't appreciate it enough while I was reading it because both you and I have to read like 10 books in a month.
Yeah.
So, like after I finished reading it, every time I finish one, I like write down the ones that I need to reread. And so far I have 3 on that list.
A Skin of the Sea, Legendborn, and what?
Another one, but I can't say. But like
Cinder.
I don't know what you're talking about. But
anyway, on our next episode, come back. We're gonna talk about Cinder by Marissa Meyer.
But I do want to say we moved around our calendar a lot this month.
Yeah.
But I think ending this month with Legendborn was really good.
Yeah, I know.
I thought it was a 5 out of 5 book. Oh God.
Are we gonna
read Bloodmarked?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say yes, but we need to figure that out because we also said we wanted to talk about Soul of the Deep and we haven't gotten to it. So, yeah, eventually we will. Okay. It's going to be a trilogy though, and I hate waiting. I hate waiting.
I know you do. I know you do. I know
okay,
you do.
wow,
I do too.
Call me out.
But
call me out.
I know you do. And you know what's another thing you hate? Dude, oh my gosh. Thank you, everyone, who is listening to us in podcast form, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere you get your podcasts on. Thank you so much. If you can leave a rating of 5 stars and a review, that would be amazing. And you know what? The ratings, it takes like 5 seconds to do it. So while I'm talking, if you just go back to like our page where it says our name and, you know, appreciate our cover because it looks fucking amazing, and give us a 5-star, that would be amazing, because that helps a lot with getting recommended on our podcast sites.
You know, another way, if you just want to go above and beyond by showing us a little bit more love, we did make a Patreon, and through our Patreon, we would love to eventually form book clubs, and we just want to have a way for our readers to let us know what they would like to see, right? Like, what kind of books do you want us to talk about? So it would be really nice if you would check that out as well. You can find us on patreon.com/bookfix.
If you are able to help us on Patreon either, that's fine. It also really helps if you want to tell your friends, family, or loved ones about us, because the best type of exposure is through word of mouth. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. If you can like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We post every Tuesday and Thursday.
Can I just interject really quickly?
Yeah.
Outside there are like people throwing around like what are they called? Fire logs? I don't even fucking know. They're having a fire log party outside. So if you just hear a lot of slamming, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, guys. My neighbors every day they do play monkey in the middle with bricks. So
and you know
what's happening.
I just can't fight them on that. You know, live your life.
I will join them after this episode is over.
No, I won't, because we're gonna talk about Cinder after this.
Oh my gosh, you're right. At the end of our episodes, Yajaira rolls a digital dice, and if it lands on an even number, we read a positive review of the book we talked about. But if it lands on an odd number, we read a negative review of the book we talked about. We are not connected to these reviews at all. They just stay in the air, and that's it. So thank you, everyone who is listening. And Yajaira, if you want to give us a number, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, give me a sec. I'm sending you a picture.
Of what?
You
the
know.
Guys playing with bricks outside? Oh my god. They really are just fucking up some logs outside.
I told you. I don't know what's happening outside.
Yeah, Yajaira sent me a picture. She sent me a video or a live. They really are just cutting bricks right outside your home.
Right outside my fucking ventana. Oh my, that's window.
Wow, dude. Love
anyway, let me roll this dice, okay?
Okay.
We got a 5.
This one comes from Riz Sasaki, who gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. They wrote, "This was just a mess of teenage hormones. Even though I truly liked and appreciated what this book was trying to do, I must say that it suffered a lot with the fact that the author wanted to put a ton of things and topics inside a small jar, and she tried to make it better by creating a book with too many pages, in my opinion. Also, do I need to say how unnecessary and utterly cliche was the romance? No chemistry at all, cringy and a little bit creepy if you stop to think about the fact that Bree is only 16 years old. And Nick, just like Sel would say, what a prick. I absolutely adored the social commentary that this book brought, but unfortunately the main focus of this story was that the Legendborn just felt too weak and a copy of too many YA fantasies that you could find out there in the world."
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on Thursday. Bye.
You're right. I'm glad we filmed this one first.
I told you, there was just so much to this book that I needed to get it out. I've been holding it in for a month, Cheli. You really made me wait a month.
I'm so sorry. We talked a lot.
I know. No, dude, we really did.
Wouldn't it be funny? Actually, no, it wouldn't. If I was like,
shut up, don't.
I didn't hit record.
Don't say that. I will literally cry. My computer. Wait, what? My computer, there's like a notification that came up that said restart required. I was like, no, we will not restart right now. You better not restart right now.
That would suck. Oh my god. I don't want to have to address another elephant.
Yeah, no, not this one.